Hello guys, this is Jason Rolfe of Team Sigil. I'm currently at LGS Spellbound Games, the home of Team Sigil, and also our sponsor. I've got an absolute banger for you guys today, which is the Lyath deck tech from my recent top 32 performance at the Calling Valencia. Doing a deck tech really because obviously we've seen very few performances on this hero so far, and it's honestly the most fun I've ever had in Fab in 3 years. So definitely want to get this out to you. So at the beginning, just to kind of talk about why I registered live to the tournament, I've been a Guardian player basically since I played the game. And we just had Worlds Philadelphia kind of 2 weeks before the event, and I had taken Jarl, and I wanted kind of a change. Wanted to play a bit more of a proactive, faster hero, and just ended up on live really. Just the backstory of how I got to the deck that I did. Naturally, when it first came out, we explored it as a team. We had tried builds that looked to fatigue, more of the mid-range archetype, and also the aggro. It became quite clear to us quite early that we need to play aggro because the other archetypes kind of suffer with not being able to deal with some of the meta matchups, kind of like Gravy Bones, for example, being one of the prominent ones that were causing trouble. So we played it. We couldn't really get it too consistent, but it was clear that it was doing some fairly powerful stuff when it did its thing, essentially what it wants to do. But basically after that, we kind of dropped the deck for a little while because we couldn't get it consistent. And then Calling Sydney happened, and I saw the New Zealand player Ollie Berry there playing the deck and doing some very powerful stuff in a consistent way. So I kind of looked at that and I was like, it looks like he's got the ratios in a good point. I always know I wanted to play aggro live, but could never get the ratio. So on a whim, didn't really test very much. I played a couple of armies here at Spellbound. I've put about a few Talishar games. I just kind of packed it in the bag and got over to the tournament. And did far better than I expected to do. So that's really kind of the story of how I got there. Now we can just kind of talk about what Lyath does, kind of his hero techs and the kind of the equipment suite that I have here, and what each piece does. So Lyath, first of all, is the first 5 intellect hero. So you draw 5 cards every turn. And at the cost of the base power and defense of the cards being halved, rounded up. Also has an instant ability, which is cost 2, the crowd boos you, which makes defending action cards you control get +1 this turn. And whenever the crowd boos you, you create a might token. So kind of the deck building challenge of the hero is quite tough because obviously you can't play your usual Guardian cards of stuff like Spinal Crush, Cranial Crush, or any of the big kind of attacks that you're used to. You kind of have to rely on smaller attacks and buffs to get around his hero ability while still presenting disruption. So yeah, that's a very unique challenge that we've not really seen before. And of course the weapon is the classic Titan's Fist, which pretty much every Guardian plays. It does come in for 2, but if you are able to pitch a free, then it does become free, which is a 1-card free, which is, you know, not normally ideal, but in this hero, because of the fact that you draw 5 cards, your entire value heuristics change. So this is very fine, Titan's Fist. Also works a lot with our kind of front pumps that we have in the deck. So it gives that reliance and also might affects it as well. Then we move on to the shield here, which is the Rampant of the Ram's Head. Rampart of the Ram's Head. And the whole reason why we play this is because obviously your hero ability being 2 resources, you're able to use a blue to pitch, make a might, and also you have 1 floating. So it's a very reliable source of 1 defense on your cards, whilst also not being affected by the life ability. So very, 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 very good piece here in life, and very standard, always has been. Then we move on to the helmet here, which is Arcanate Skullcap. Very, very good. The reason being is it blocks 1 Battle Worn, but obviously if you have lower health than the opposing hero, you're able to get +1 block. This again plays around the life ability, and if you are able to get 2 blocks of the helmet whilst being lower health, you actually get free value, and you know, free value in a hero that draws 5 cards is, you know, very significant. And that kind of brings us, and also you have the Arcane Barrier free, which can come up every now and again, mainly against wizards, obviously, like Acilio and Kano. So after that, we have the Attention Grabbers. You know, talking about free value, this is another piece which is fantastic. Comes into play these Armory deck. Happens to be Guardian, so we can use it in life. And this is a 1-block Blade Break. When it's defends, you may remove a suspense counter from all you control. If you do, this gets +2 defense. The reason why this is important is because a lot of your plan revolves around setup turns with auras, and obviously the auras with suspense counters, they actually come in for 2. So you're able to kind of manipulate that to let them 2 or 3 auras go off at the same time, and then you can get a very big attack full of disruption and keeping yourself tempo. And free block, absolutely fantastic. And a hero doesn't block very well. Sometimes you'll use this either proactively. You can also use it defensively if someone is presenting an on-hit that requires a free block and you want to keep your hand. Absolutely fantastic piece. And then we move on to the Tunic. Of course, Tunic is just classic. It blocks 1, so it's not affected by Lyath, and it gives you the extra resource, which can be used later on for some pieces. I mean, obviously, if you draw kind of a 5 red, it's really good to get an extra resource to kind of temper that problem of having not enough resources in your hand. But also can be used with Razor Reflex, which is a card we'll go over later on, which is absolutely fantastic. Then you have Snapdragon Scalers, which is a kind of unusual piece to have in Guardian, of course, because normally you don't really have too many attacks that do cost 1 or less. But in this deck, pretty much every attack you have in the deck, ones that you want to be playing out, do have this kind of cost of 1 or less, normally 0. And the reason this is also fantastic is because you have 5 cards, and a lot of the times in games, you hold tempo and you draw 5 cards, and sometimes you might not have enough go again. So this is a key piece that you need to really develop heuristics on when to use it well, because it is necessary to convert your hands. So yeah, again, very, very good. Then we move on to, this is kind of the setup that I'd play into most heroes. Then we have a few sideboard options here. You have the Balance of Justice. Again, it does go down to 1. It normally blocks 2, but you do have the effect of drawing a card when your opponent draws 2 cards. So this is kind of played into matchups like Dash.io, for example, or Brute. And of course, Gravy Bones, who has gold and draws a lot. So that's where we'd be playing that, just on any hero that you recognize can draw 2 cards. Then we have the Arcane package, the Arcane Barrier package, which is kind of, the Arcanite Fortress is fantastic here. Just this is the standout piece in this kind of selection of cards I have here, because we're playing Arcanite Skullcap. Arcanite Fortress then becomes a 1 block because of life, but it does have the Spell Void too. So we'd be playing this into heroes like Kano and Acilio, would be the main options. And in Acilio, because Acilio obviously does a split damage between physical attacks and also arcane damage, you're able to again convert this for free value, as you can with Potential Grabbers and Skullcaps. So it's very, very good there. You have Lantern and Null Rune Boots and Null Rune Gloves. You don't really play all of these at the same time most of the time. I mean, for example, Verdant, I go with AB2, which would be the Null Rune Gloves and the Arcane Lantern here, while maintaining Scalers. And the only place where you would play all 4 of these pieces, in my opinion, is into Kano, where you want AB3 and you want Spell Void 2 to stop them from comboing you out. So that's kind of the Arcane package there. And then we have the very interesting Quelling Slippers. Now, I only play this in Syndra, but I have actually saw some rumblings people might want to play this in Mario. I play Snatch because I kind of think you want to maintain tempo. But the real reason why I have these boots and why I play these boots and where I think they're the best is definitely Syndra, which is obviously a very top meta pick right now. So it's very good because it can stop Flick Knives, which can stop their mask, and also Cut Through, which is an attack that requires them to hit with a dagger. So you can really blow them out with that. And elsewhere, kind of when they have a longer term, maybe if they resolve their power card of Wrath of Retribution, then you can just actually trade this for free value per blue, which again, with 5 cards, free value per blue on defense is quite a premium. So that's kind of it for our equipment. I'm just going to move over here as we move on to some of the deck cards. First of all, we'll be starting off here with our non-attack actions, which I call the Might Generation package. So you have Booze, 2 Steps Ahead, and Cruel Ambition. So Booze, just to talk about Booze, just kind of, any free block blue. We play 26 blues in this deck, 26 blues and 9 yellows in most matchups, which I think is a very good number after playing the games at Calling Valencia. But why Booze is very, very important is because it's a blue that has go again, and you can also play it out to make auras. You'll see later on as we go into some of the attacks that a lot of the attacks require us to have 3 auras to actually activate some of their most significant text. So what this does is you play it out, you make a might, and it's an aura itself, so you fulfill 2 of the 3 that you need for certain abilities on the cards, and also you make a might, so it's actually... It's a 1 card too, which, again, as I mentioned, it's really important when you play and pick up this deck to kind of rethink your value heuristics. Because you have 5 cards, normally you might think one card, 2 is not so good, but it can be very, very vital, especially when it's enabling other cards. So yeah, just part of our blue base, and also a great card to play when you have full tempo. 2 steps ahead, again, this one here, a fantastic card, kind of a signature card. You know, it's got Lyath on the art, so kind of a pseudo specialization, as you might say. Where this card is very good is obviously on turn 0. It lets you basically make 4 value. You get 3 mites and a confidence here. So you're able to get 4 value off of 1 card. Also, we play Impose and Visage. So you can fetch it, which is obviously a very good 2-card 4. But obviously, when you need to convert your hands, it's fantastic. And also, another place where I really like this as well is if you've got Go Again, if you've got a Razor Reflex, or even sometimes you can use Snaps to kind of just play this at the end of your chain, which will set up your further turns. And I think one of the best things about this as well, it kind of sets up 2 turns, I mean, it's in the name, is the fact that when you play this and it breaks, then on that turn you're able to play your cards, your attack actions that require auras for basically free. You don't need to kind of spend your actions or your cards doing boost to kind of get it on a lower rate. You just get it naturally from there, and then the turn after that, you're able to have the 3 mites pop and the confidence to have an even bigger turn. So fantastic card. I'm actually thinking about going up to 3, but I played 2 at this tournament. It was very, very good. And then Cruel Ambition, another mite generation, absolutely necessary. Again, if it feels the spot of being able to get 3 mite tokens very easily, it's 1 card free, very, very good on 5 cards, and it enables as well. So it's just a great card to see. A lot of the games that you play with Lyath, you will end up disrupting your opponent to the point that you will draw 5 cards, up to 5 cards, and you will not have any defensive options. So you need to be able to draw hands that convert offensively, efficiently. And this is what this card achieves. It's very, very good. So this is all of the non-attack action mite generation package. Moving on to what I would call our attacks, mite generation attacks. So you've got Goon Beatdown, Escalate Violence, and Mocking Blow. So Goon Beatdown, again, there is the kind of, there's a cycle of this card, and this is just the best one. The other ones being kind of more conditional. One taps the hero and one also removes an aura, but this here, when it hits, it just boos. So this is always, you'll see a kind of trend in this deck that we're always looking for cards that are consistently good rather than in niche spots, and this is exactly what this is. Again, the baseline is a 3-bot blue. But when it is used offensively, it is a 1-card 4, potentially a 1-card 5. So yeah, just a great mite generator and just a great filler. Escalate Violence is a bit of an all-star in the deck, if you ask me. The reason why is because, again, it's a 3-block blue, but it's actually fantastic offensively. Because it comes in for free, but 2 for us because we're Lyath, it actually feeds into our hero ability. So we always have the hero ability available to us. So we're able to, if you have a blue and Escalate Violence, you activate Lyath, which gives you a value, because obviously you get a mite. And then you play Escalate Violence, which is when this attacks, if you control a mite token, create 3 more. So what you're doing there is you're coming in for 2 and you're making 4 mites. That's a 2-card 6. On a blue, on a deck that draws 5 cards, it's very, very premium. And there's also the fact that we play Villainous Pose, which obviously is in a later package here. It actually feeds into there as well. It scales up with how many cards you have. So it's just a great card that allows us to convert while scaling and being a blue. So Escalate Violence was very, very good for me on the weekend. And of course, Mocking Blow. I mean, this card is just outrageous. We're talking about a 1-card 6 when online, which is very often because, again, you're an aggressive, disruptive deck. And what this does here is when this attacks a hero, if you have more life than them, this boos you. And if you've booed this turn, this gets +4. So if you're ahead, you play the card, you get booed, you make a mite, and you go to 5. So 1-card 6, and you're drawing 5 cards. Obscene. Some of the best lines with this, with Snapdragon Scalers that I pointed to earlier. I mean, if you literally just have 2 of these in your hand, and you play Snapdragon Scalers between them, you're talking about a 2-card 12 that uses an equipment. And also one of the really great things about this card as well, a number of cards boos you. For example, Booze that I showed earlier. So even if you are lower health, the card isn't dead. You still are able to get the bottom clause there to get to a 1-card 5. So yeah, very, very, very good. And that does it for our kind of mite generation cards here. Then we move on to the bread and butter of the deck. What makes the deck so exciting and what really kind of, at Calling Valencia on some of the stream games that I played, really highlights the power of this deck and kind of why you want to play it and why it is so fun. we have here the 9 yellow attacks, which I would call are disruptive attacks, the cards that are kind of what we're using all of these cards to buff and get to the remove the opponent's kind of ability to play the game. First of all, you have the short shift. So again, this is a part of a cycle and it's kind of a theme. And as I was saying before, a lot of people ask me at the venue, why short shift and how come you're not playing? There's a couple of other cards where one is got the exact same text but removes the arsenal, and there's another one that says remove go again. So why do we play short shift over that one, and why is this the only one that we play of that cycle? Well, the reason being is that, you know, the crushing when this deals 4 or more damage to a hero they discard a card is always relevant. People don't always have arsenals, but they always have hands. So again, this is also coming in for free, and it goes down to 2. But at the same time, if you're able to, you basically never play this out vanilla. You never play this out, you know, without buffs. If you play this and you have 2 mites, this is already going over its base, so it recovers it, because the top clause there is if it has greater power than its base, it gets +1. So you're able to always kind of get this out for 1 card free, and then, you know, show the kind of disruption or present the disruption. And one of my favorite kind of combination of cards in this deck is having this card come in while you're popping an aura, or you're popping like 3 or 4 mites, and you play Terra Sunder with it. Now you are presenting discard 3 cards. You know, that's enormous your entire hand. So fantastic, just a bread and butter card. And we just get better and better here. I mean, battered, beaten, and broken, a ridiculous card. There's no other words for this. It's just an unbelievable card. So when this attacks a hero, intimidate them. So first of all, you're removing, you know, there's a bit of an RNG, but normally intimidation is super annoying for a number of heroes. They kind of can't block with what they want to block with. But it's really the second paragraph of this card that makes it just incredible. If you control 3 or more auras, this gets +3. So straight away you're going to a 1 card 4 when that's enabled. When this hits a hero, destroy an intimidate card they own. So the card that you intimidate, you're able to destroy if you're able to get the attack through. And some of the best tricksy plays you can, I mean, when you draw this card, basically the immediate thing you should be doing is looking if you can get those 3 auras. The first thing I do if I have this card available to me is, can you get 3 auras, and is it going to be viable to? Because normally if you can get 3 auras, it's worth it to do this card because it's completely disruptive to the opponent. And one of my favorite things is, because it's when this attacks a hero is intimidate, the second one isn't. So it's, if you're able to get the 3 auras anywhere before the damage step, you're able to fulfill this clause. So for example, a lot of the times I will go into the reaction phase or the reaction step with 2 auras, and the card might be coming in for 4, and then I will either activate Lyath or play an aura. You've got a lot of ways to play auras in the reaction step, and then this second clause then comes online. You get the +3 and the on hit, and your opponent can no longer you know, block with anything outside of, you know, defensive reactions or any kind of instance. So a fantastic card, and one of the best Snapdragon scalar targets, because of course if you play short shift or you play another attack, or even 2 of these, you snap in and then you come in for 4 and you intimidate further. So it's very devastating in that manner as well. One of the best snap targets. And then we talk about, cut a long story short here, I've left the best to last out of our disruptive attacks. We've never seen anything like this. If this has great, it's the same thing, all 3 of them, or not the battered, but the short shift, it's got the, if this has great in your base, which is, you know, just to offset the life ability there to make sure you're getting your value. Tower, if this has 13 or more power, it gets when this hits a hero, they discard their hand. You know, a lot of effects in the game will say discard their card. There's very few, if any, that says discard their hand. The amount of people that would pick this card up, read it, and immediately think that this was discard their card, and I had to correct them, and then the shock on their face was just, you know, hilarious. So again, one of the things that Ollie was able to do with the ratios is bring this in consistently. So what happens is, you don't always get there. Sometimes you have to play it out for 10 or 11 value just to convert your mites, your auras. But more often than not, I was able to arsenal this, or even draw into it and maybe use the attention grabbers here to bring an aura down to the next turn and get it to 13. Just like battered, beaten, and broken, with a cut long story short, the first thing you want to do is, can you get to 13? It's always a puzzle with this hero. You want to be hitting your, fulfilling your kind of text here. It's always a puzzle to get to those goals to hit this disruption. And then when you throw this, of course, you know, they're either going to give you a hand, they're going to miss it, or they're going to get hit by it. But there's almost no way an opponent can have a turn after this. So the hero is all about kind of presenting this massive disruption, so you can't play the game, and then setting up for the future turns and keep doing that as long as you can. So yeah, that's our bread and butter there. The 9 attacks that we want to be playing out all the time with buffs on it, until we win the game essentially. Now moving on to a package here, a smaller package which I call our front pumps, which is all about getting our previous attacks to the next level and activating that disruption. Villainous pose, absolutely fantastic. Your next attack gets +4 and it boosts. It's a 2 for 5 with, getting your disruption online for your turn, also assisting a little bit with the might, able to push that next turn. The reason why we don't play free, and I stick by this, I don't think you should play free, is because obviously if you draw, it only blocks 2, blocks 1 for us essentially. If you draw 2 of these and you don't draw any blues or you don't have tempo, it's very, very rough. So I think 2 is a very good number. Then you have Nimblism, and a lot of people say, why do you not play Minnowism? Well, I can show later on in our sideboard why exactly we play Nimblism. But again, the next attack action, it's a classic, costs 1 or less, you play this, gets +3. We just play this, it's a card it's a 1 card free on offense, it's got go again, so you get a couple of these and you play a disruptive attack, it's just exactly what you want to be doing. So yeah, that's very, very simple, very easy to understand, just our front pumps to get our disruption online. Now, what I'd call my favorite package is the reaction pumps, or what I like to call the cheese package. Reason being is opponents never see this coming. You got Razor Reflex, which is classic, it's been in the game since the very first set. You basically never ever see this in Guardian. And obviously Concealed Object, fantastic as well. Basically a glorified lunge and press, +1, and when the crowd boos you, when the center's winning, the crowd boos you, it's just fantastic. It's a blue as well, so you can actually just use this as a baseline blue. You don't always have to play it, but it just enables tricks that you don't really see previously in Guardian. And one of my favorite things to do with this card is actually to play it on my opponent's turn. So you have the kind of 2 options with this card. It's quite flexible, where you can play it on the opponent's turn, which will allow you to, you lose the kind of cheese factor of it, but you get the might and you get the +1. So sometimes you might want to push a card with confidence or dominate kind of over with that. And also Razor Reflex is very, very premium because obviously it also gives go again. It doesn't just give +3, it gives go again. So it's very, very key. As I said, sometimes you have 5, 6, even 7 card hands if you're drawing or a pop. So this is very, very vital to be able to kind of just present these massive attacks. Massive attacks and kind of big chain links, longer chains, in the sense that you can play this and you're kind of looking in one turn to be able to play this and a Snapdragons, then you can present 3 attacks. So I'll give an example. In the Verdance game that I played on day 1, I was able to present, cut a long story short, with Terrace Under for 13, Razor Reflex that card to give it go again, so it's 16 go again, the entire hand is gone. And then I'm able to play Jack Be Nimble, which I will show later on, which is 3 go again, and then able to play Mocking Blow for 5 make a might. This is just an insane line for a Guardian. So again, bread and butter. You got your reaction plays, your go again, and it's always nice. If you watch the Calling Valencia stream, and if you haven't, I recommend to go and have a look. I was on 1 game on day 1 and 1 game on day 2. I was able to do some very sneaky, funny plays with the Concealed Object, devastating plays. One more thing to mention as well, like Short Shift as a crush. People are used to kind of blocking crush efficiently, so you need to do 4 damage to do a crush. A lot of people often block 3 and not realize that Concealed Object is coming, triggers the crush, and it's just completely devastating. So yeah, this is our reaction pumps package. Now moving on to what I think makes kind of Lyath one of the most unique heroes, is the Super Slam Instant Auras package. And this is very, very interesting. Some of the kind of highest agency, highest skill ceiling cards in the deck. We're starting off with In the Palm of Your Hand here, which we have 2 copies of, which is necessary because it draws a card and it can get a bit iffy if you play 3 of them. And what this card does is when it enters or leaves the arena, draw a card. So it kind of changes the math. You're already working with 5 cards, so being able to draw a 6th card, sometimes if you're able to convert 6 cards or 7 cards if you have an arsenal on offense. You just get very, very ahead. Again, it blocks two because you can never get it. One thing to remember about these instant auras, if you're just picking up life, is that they aren't affected by the life ability. So they all block 2 every single time because the life ability only affects action cards. So they do still block 2, which is fine in life. But again, being able to draw, I mean, where this is really, really incredible. Obviously, very, very good to convert on tempo. You're just basically playing out 2 cards to the kind of bank 2 cards later on. But if you play this on turn 0, you're able to play this on turn 0, obviously, if you start or if you go second. And kind of when you go second, then it's kind of a matter of how much damage can I leak or how much damage can I prevent and not take and play this out. But on turn 0, if you're able to play one of these auras out, you get really ahead. It's really hard for the opponent to come back. And, you know, sometimes if you get really lucky, you can actually play 2 of them out. And then, you know, your opponent is really fighting back. So, yeah, all about just converting your hand. Edge of their seats. Just a classic 2-card 5. With the tower cards I showed earlier on, or even the short shift and the crush cards, +5 is just very, very good. Obviously, with one of your outlets for your attention grabbers, which allows you to kind of stack them together to be able to kind of push that disruption and push that tempo. And then the All-Star, probably my favorite card in the deck, I would have to say. Very unique card. Leave them hanging. And what this does is when this enters the arena, intimidate target hero. And then when it leaves, it gets +4. So it's like Edge of their seats, but -1 on the power. But you gain this ability to intimidate. And of course, because it's instant, you're able to do this both on your opponent's turn and your turn, which is very, very important because the only other card I can think of coming to mind that was able to intimidate on the opponent's turn before this was the Scowling Fleshbug of the Brutes. And when you're kind of playing with this card, I actually had one of my opponents in day 2, Gravy player who ended up actually topping the event. He looked at my graveyard, this is very funny, he looked at my graveyard about halfway through the game and said, okay, we'll leave the hangers go and I can stop playing in such a weird way. And we both had a good chuckle. This is what this card does. It kind of has this inherent value where your opponent has to play around it as well. But again, sometimes you play it on your opponent's turn and you completely break down their turn. For example, I did it to a Dash.io where he wasn't able to present the max velocity because lost one of their cards. And against Acilio, again, just great examples of these kind of heroes you're going to see in the meta. Acilio plays their pump that kind of +3 on your next attack action, and you play this and they lose their only attack because they only play a certain amount of attacks. And again, if you play it on your turn, not so bad on your turn because it intimidates them, messes with their blocks. You can kind of play this in conjunction with Battered, Beaten, and Broken. You've got double intimidate, and then you can select which one you want to destroy. So yeah, just an absolute iconic card for the deck. One of the best, and some of the best agency as well, because it's not always correct to play it out as soon as you can. You might want to wait, depending on what the hero does. So yeah, very high agency card, very, very good, and a reason to play the deck, really. So that's kind of our instant pumps, or instant auras, which do pump. Then we kind of move on to the blue base here. Heart of Finder, for the Bravado, Power Play, Imposing Visage, and Tear Asunder. So, first of all, you play Heart of Finder because the main reason why is that if you do actually, it's a blue, obviously, and if you do get to heal from it, you're talking about gaining 3 resources and 1 health from a blue in a 5 intellect hero. So, you just play it for that simple fact that the kind of ceiling of it is very, very good. So, you always play this. Full of Bravado is an interesting card. This one says when this attacks or defends, if you control an aura suspense, create a confidence token. It's quite an expensive card in terms of deck space because it does block 1 without the life being active. But it's kind of interesting. It came up a couple of times in the weekend where what you want to do is when you've got a bunch of auras and you need to finish, your opponent, is you get the confidence, so you just create this evasion. You create a nice evasion. So you only play 2 because it only blocks for 2, and it's not always relevant. It's also got the kind of added bonus of activating the Titan's Fist here. So it's got multiple uses, and it's kind of a niche card. It's kind of, I would say we could, if we need to move cards around, it will be the first one to go. It is a little bit mid, but when it's good, it's amazing, right? It can actually win you the game, but it is quite niche. But yeah, just kind of have that as a Titan's Fist here. Then you have the Titan Fist Enabler. Then you have the Power Play. Again, 3 block blue. Very interesting card. because if this was played from Arsenal, it gets +5. So kind of sometimes when you draw these kind of five blue hands, you're able to just Arsenal this and translate it later on offensively for two card 6. Also, one of the coolest plays I had on the weekend is that I was able to put this in the Arsenal, have 4 mites, and then I was able to, because obviously it's a Guardian attack, tear asunder it. So tear asunder, power play for 11, discard 2 cards. Not the best thing you can ever do, and you would rather play the attacks. But sometimes you just need to do that the way you draw the game, the way you draw in the game. So again, very versatile, 3-block blue, just a filler card more than anything. Imposing Visage is kind of, I would say, an overperformer for me, because again, a lot of the kind of hands you draw in the game can be hard to convert when you've got full tempo. So this allows you to you can fetch a booze. You can even fetch leave them hanging or edge of their seats by pitching 2 blues. So that's a free card play, which sometimes might not sound the most attractive play ever, but the thing is sometimes you need to play out these kind of lines because you always have the tempo because you're just so disruptive. Also, obviously on turn 0, fantastic. You can fetch 2 steps ahead. Or one of the bigger auras because you're always going to draw up. So again, very good. And then Tear Asunder is the best blue in the deck. Probably a top 3, top 5 card in the deck, which just kind of really pushes the envelope when it comes to disruption. You can put this even on the hammer, so it's never a brick. You can always put this on the hammer. You can put this on any of your, well, not the battered, beaten, and broken, but you can put it on short shift or cut a long story short, which is obviously a free card play. And you can also put it on power play, so it's just very relevant. A lot of heroes, ones that come to mind, stuff like Gravy and Verdance, where you need to be pushing with a lot of evasion, very, very useful. And of course, it's a blue as well. It's always been an overperformer in Guardian, and it's no different here in Lyath. So yeah, that's our kind of blue base. Blue base, I think I was actually thinking going forward, if you're kind of facing more DRAS, a 4-2 of attire might be a good option. Because that's the kind of way that Life could have some problems if you're presented with a lot of defense reactions. So that could also be an option for the future. Now we move on finally to the final package, which is the sideboard. A lot of very specific cards here for specific meta matchups, which I'll go to in 1 second. So I'll actually start up here with Sigil on this one. This is obviously Sigil Solace. We play 2 of them. It's just a 1-card free conversion on a defensive basis. It's also very good with Mocking Blow, because sometimes you might be close on life with your opponent. You're able to play this to enable the Mocking Blow, which is a very, very good line. I've got it in the sideboard package, but you normally play both of them into most matchups. It just didn't really fit into many of the other packages, and sometimes you play 1. Jack B. Nimble here is an interesting card. Obviously, this is what the Nimblism was for that I was talking about earlier. It allows you to get it to come in for free and go again. You can steal an item. You can play this into Dio, which you can steal a Cerebellum Processor and then draw a card, which is interesting. You play it mostly for Verdance, where you can steal their healing potions and gain 2 life and also stop them from comboing you. And you can also play into Gravy, which kind of you can steal their gold, and you can also kill allies with it efficiently. So it's an interesting card. I would say this and the Bravado is the kind of 2 cards that I would be looking to are the most replaceable, I would say. Carmen Breeze, fantastic. Carmen Breeze is here for 2 matchups predominantly. The first matchup being Syndra. Syndra's like a very, very top deck. Obviously won the World Championship not too long ago. And the reason why you would want to play into Syndra is because you can play it to stop their kunai attacks and also their flick knife attacks, but you can also just translate this into free block on defense because they go very wide. So yeah, you can blow out cut through as well. Cut through requires a dagger to have go again, so it's mainly there for that matchup. And also in Arachne Marionette, it's very good because the Hunter's Clave you can't block with the shield here because of the piercing. So you're able to block Hunter's Clave, and sometimes that can really mess their attacks up because Mario, kind of a breakout deck in Valencia, really. We had a lot of Marionettes doing very well. So, yeah, I mean, very often they actually need their Clave to hit to get the mark and do very well. So, very, very good card. Very, very good for me on the weekend. So, yeah, definitely Carmen Breeze is very standard as long as those decks are in the meta. Minus Touch is purely there for Gravy. Obviously, you can do it in the Prism as well. But Prism is quite a bad matchup regardless. You literally don't have any poppers. So yeah, Midas Touch is really there for gravy. Gravy, you just want to be going full steam ahead. And one of the ways they can stop you and mess around with you is by playing Chum. So this obviously just removes Chum. You draw 5 cards, so it's even a less deck cost than other decks. You can also tunic out the Midas. Yeah, so that's what that's all about. And obviously it's very important because Chum can really absorb a lot of your damage because you're playing with pumps and stuff. So you really want to avoid throwing a attack for 50 into Chum. The Gravy's going to be very happy if you do that. So, yeah, Midas is there for Gravy. And then another all-star of the deck, Peace of Mind. Every single person I played on this weekend, pretty much everyone read this card because it hasn't seen play since the Oldham days. Come out on Outsiders, and this card is fantastic. The reason why this card is so good, you bring it in any matchup where kind of they can push you, Syndra, Marionette, basically anyone who does a lot of physical damage, you'd play into Warrior as well, is it feeds in so well to what Lyath is doing in 3 different ways. And what that is Peace of Mind, so you play 2, and you prevent the next 4 damage that are coming to you, physical damage. So that's 4 for 2. Then you play the Rampart, that feeds into the Rampart, so you're blocking 5, and you also make a Ponder token. So the Ponder token allows you to draw a card at the end of your turn. So if you draw a card that you can put in the arsenal, which there is a lot of cards you can, most cards are very arsenalable, even a lot of the blues. You know, when you put an Aura in there, or even another Peace of Mind, it's very, very good. So you're talking about there potentially a kind of 2 card 8. And one of the things that's really cool, whenever I tell someone about it or talk to someone about it, they're always like, wow, that's really good, is that because Ponder is an Aura, it actually, for your next turn, you're going to have one of your auras fulfilled for stuff like Battered, Beaten, and Broken, and Goon Beatdown. So that's a nice little niche thing about the card. This card was brilliant for me on the weekend. So yeah, that's kind of all of the cards, really. All of the cards we played in the deck. I mean, in terms of matchups and stuff like that, and the actual tournament run itself, I played a variety of things. My first game I played against the Gravy, was able to get there with that. Then I played Nacilio, also won that game as well. I played 2 Marios back to back, went 4-0. Then I lost the game against Nacilio, and I was able to beat a Dio, a Dash.io. It was a very, very crazy game. And I played a Verdance at the end of the day. So I went 6-1, going into day 2. Then starting up, I played Syndra on stream, went 7-1. Then I lost to a Gravy to go 7-2. Then I won against the Dash.io to go 8-2. Then I lost to 2 Verdants back to back to go 8-4. And I think really, it's not really a testament of the deck, I think. I think the deck is even more powerful than my record suggests. I think I was kind of a little bit inexperienced in some of the spots. I think even so, like most of the games that I lost were very, very close games. I think specifically the game against the Verdants, where I needed to win 2 to go to push the top 8, I made a couple of very kind of inexperienced mistakes, I would say, where I think if I had taken different lines, it could have been possibly different. Not 100% sure, but definitely I took the wrong line. So I would definitely recommend playing the deck, picking up. It's quite cheap at the point of this video. I mean, it cost me peanuts to play this deck, and it was just fantastic. The best fun that I kind of ever had in the game. I think in terms of going forward and kind of card choices that could be different, I think if Prison was to come back in the meta, you'd probably play Pulverize. It's the only popper possible to play in Lyath. I think you might look at that. Outside of that, as I mentioned earlier, Authority of Attire as well. But yeah, I definitely recommend getting out there and playing this deck. And I'm hoping to see during Calling Seattle, which is happening in 10 days, and also the RTN season, that we see some more Lyath. I'm looking forward to looking at that. But I would say at the end of this, kind of some shout outs that I have, obviously, to my team Sigil that I test with, the guys, and of course Spellbound Games, which is our sponsor, and also my local game shop, which I pretty much play every week. Also, if you're in the area, we still have the Black Friday pack sale at the moment, where you get a Black Friday pack if you spend £50, and obviously there's some great Cold 4 extended arts in there, and of course we've got skirmish tickets up as well, which you could be playing for this fantastic map right here, the Arc Hero map, the reviled hero over here. So that's it really, guys, and leave some comments or anything any questions. I think I covered most things that were asked of me, but yeah, that's it. Until next time, I'll see you later, and thank you very much.